In 1845, John O'Sullivan wrote, "The American claim is by the right of our manifest destiny to overspread and possess the whole of the continent, which Providence has given us for the development of the great experiment of liberty." So basically, manifest destiny was the popular belief that the U.S. had a divine mission to extend its power and civilization across the breadth of North America. So the white men in America heard from someone that God said that they were supposed to control everything in North America. Because God said so, they could do whatever they needed to do in order to control all things in North America. Not everybody in America at this time, though, agreed with manifest destiny. The people in the North felt like manifest destiny was just the Southerners trying to spread slavery into the West. But manifest destiny was a huge part of U.S. history because a lot of people did believe that they were supposed to control everything in North America because God said so. Let's talk about Texas. Mexico won its independence from Spain in 1823, and it tried to attract Anglo settlers, Anglo means white, to farm the underpopulated northern frontier of Mexico, which was Texas. Moses Austin, who was a banker from Missouri, acquired a huge piece of land in Texas because, bankers got money, they make bank. So he had this big piece of land, and his goal was to try and attract these different families, American settlers, to come and farm in Texas. However, he died before he was able to do that. His son, though, Stephen Austin, was able to get 300 families to come to Texas. Those 300 families spread the word, and it started a steady stream of settlers coming down to Texas and starting their farms. This also brought slave owners and their slaves as well. By 1830, slave owners and their slaves outnumbered Mexicans in Texas by 3-1. The issue with this is in 1829, Mexico actually outlawed slavery and said that all immigrants had to convert to Roman Catholicism. So the settlers came and was like, we not about to be Catholic. We're not gonna do that. We are Protestant, we do what we do. We've been doing this for a long time. I'm gonna keep telling my friends to come. So Mexico got mad and Mexico closed its borders in Texas to any other American settlers. However, the Americans were like, there's good money down there. There's good land down there. We're going. We don't care if you're not even Mexico anyway. More Americans live there than Mexicans, so we going. And by the thousands, American settlers continued to flood into Texas against Mexico's orders. In 1834, Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna became a dictator in Mexico. So he was like, I don't care about Mexico, national laws and federal government going on. I run this, I changed everything, which is what he did. And he said, in Texas, up in the north of Mexico, they not listening, they not following orders, so we gonna go and figure out what's going on. Sam Houston, as well as a group of settlers, revolted and told Santa Anna, y'all can kiss our behind. We ain't about to do nothing. We ain't changing nothing. We do what we want here in Texas. We've been doing what we want in Texas. We're not really a part of Mexico anyway, so don't come here with that foolishness. Sam Houston went so far as to declare Texas an independent republic, not a part of Mexico, not a part of the U.S. And that was in March of 1836. Santa Anna was like, okay, Sam Houston, I got you. So he led a Mexican army and captured the city of Goliad, and they attacked the Alamo in San Antonio and killed every American defender there. So Sam Houston and his boys are mad. You done killed everybody, all the American people who were defending the Alamo? Oh no, we gonna do something. So Sam Houston was like, hey, y'all get ready for the sneak attack we about to have. So they surprised the Mexican army at the San Jacinto River. At what became known as the Battle of the San Jacinto River, Sam Houston and his troops were able to defeat Santa Anna as well as capture Santa Anna, and then they threatened to kill him if he didn't sign a treaty allowing Texas to be its own republic, to be independent. But not only that, the treaty also said that everything above the Rio Grande was a part of Texas. So all of that was that independent nation. According to Santa Anna, who signed it at gunpoint. I don't know if it was actually at gunpoint, but he was gonna die if he didn't sign it. So when word got back to Mexico City, the legislature there was like, wait, so Santa Anna said that Texas is its own treaty, but somebody who was there came back and was like, well, no, he signed it, but he didn't really believe it because they were gonna kill him if he didn't sign it. So he didn't really want to do this, but he had to save his life. So the Mexican legislature was like, oh, we're not taking this. We reject this. We don't accept this. Texas is still a part of Mexico. We don't care what they say. Sam Houston declared himself the president of the Republic of Texas, or the Lone Star Republic, as they called it. And quickly, he tried to go to America and was like, hey, U.S., we are the Lone Star Republic, and we would like to be a part of you. We would like to be annexed by you. We want to be a state. Can y'all take us in? He was trying to do this quickly before Mexico City came, trying to avenge Santa Anna. So Presidents Jackson and Van Buren pushed the issue on the back burner, did not annex Texas because there were so many things, so many other things, bigger problems that they were having to deal with, as well as the North did not agree with annexing Texas. Texas was a huge piece of land, and they understood that if added in the way that it was, it would be like 5 different states. And all of those states would have slavery. And we know the North at this time is fighting against slavery and wants slavery to end. So the North was like, nah, you can't have this big old state come in here and have slavery, and then any vote that we have or any kind of like balance that we have is thrown off because everything that slave states want, they get. No, we're not with it. So Jackson and Van Buren did not make a decision about Texas annexation. John Tyler, who was the Whig president, so remember, he was the president who took over when William Henry Harrison died, right? He was the Whig, but he was actually a Democrat. And so when he got in office, he was vetoing all the Whig stuff. So John Tyler, was actually pro-Texas annexation. So he went to Congress and was like, hey, Whigs, I'm still, on paper, I'm still a Whig. I would like to annex Texas. Can y'all go ahead and ratify that? Congress looked at him and was like, we ain't doing nothing for you. No. The Senate rejected the treaty to annex Texas in 1844. So, and still speaking of manifest destiny, there was also an issue while this is going on with Texas and trying to figure out whether they're going to annex Texas. There was also an issue with the boundary in Maine between Maine and New Brunswick, Canada. So Canada was still under Britain's rule at this time, and America felt that Britain was the enemy because we had already fought Britain twice, Revolutionary War and the War of 1812. So we weren't necessarily friends with Britain. And this boundary issue was just something else that was trying to stop those who believed in manifest destiny from being able to take over North America, as much of North America as they could. But also, America just didn't want Britain to have anything. So these lumbermen at the border of Canada and Maine had this fight. This fight became known as the Aroostook War, or the Battle of the Maps. U.S. Secretary of State Daniel Webster and the British ambassador Lord Alexander Ashburton came up with a treaty. Not only did this treaty decide the border between Maine and Canada, it also decided the boundary of the Minnesota Territory, and it eventually gave the iron-rich Mesabi Mountain Range to the U.S. So another big dispute between the U.S. and Britain was a dispute over the Oregon Territory. So Oregon at one point actually stretched all the way up to the Alaskan border. There was a time when 4 different countries claimed Oregon. Spain at one point claimed it, the U.S. claimed it, Great Britain claimed it, as well as Russia. If you remember, Spain actually gave its claim up to the U.S. with the Adams-Onis Treaty back in 1819. So Britain based its claim to Oregon on the Hudson Fur Company's super profitable trade with Native Americans in the Pacific Northwest. So they felt like because they were making so much money and it was such a successful trade that Britain should be able to claim Oregon. However, by 1846, there were less than 1,000 British people that lived above the Columbia River. The U.S., however, had 3 reasons why they claimed Oregon. First was the discovery of the Columbia River in 1792 by Captain Robert Gray. So America felt like, hey, he was ours and he found that, so that's ours. That was number 1. Number 2 was the exploration done by Meriwether Lewis and William Clark. So whenever they had their expedition to the Pacific coast, they felt like, America felt like, hey, we done went over here, we made all these maps, we found, we laid the foundation for people to be able to have maps and build roads and all these things, so this should belong to America. And third, America also had a super successful trading post and fort in Astoria, Oregon, which was established by John Jacob Astor in 1811. These 3 things, along with Protestant missionaries and some farmers, actually settled in the Willamette Valley, and it was very, very fertile, and they were able to grow these blooming farms. And because of that, they attracted 5,000 other Americans to catch Oregon fever or to try and farm these super successful farms on their own. Those Americans came and they traveled over 2,000 miles over the Oregon Trail. So I'm gonna age myself, but when I was in elementary school, there was a game called Oregon Trail. It was like the first computer game ever. I feel it was my first one ever playing. It was based off of this. You get on the carriage and you might die of dysentery. You might, get eaten by something. It was a lot of fun, back then. This is what it was based on. So by the election of 1844, many Americans felt like it was their manifest destiny to take over Oregon, to annex Texas, as well as to get Mexico to sell California. By 1845, there were 7,000 Spanish Mexicans that were living in this Oregon territory out in the West. There were way more Native Americans who were there and had been there and were established, but more and more American settlers and farmers were coming out to play the Texas game, and trying to find land, establish land, and build their new empires, their new farms, their new homes. It all goes back to, that manifest destiny and that idea that God said they can take over everything from the East Coast to the West Coast.